Welcome to the Q1 Buck Poll. I'm Tim Hart with Mike Big Buck Hoffner. Well, on today we're going to talk about sportsmen against hunger with the DNR's Ray Rustum. And, you know, Mike, we've been talking a lot about donating your venison to the hungry.
Yeah, every week we've plugged that on the show. You know, we went to the Rotary this week. We talked about service to others. What a great cause.
Also on the show this week, we've got Chef Stephen Deal, and he's going to be cooking up some venison, black, and blue burger, which really has the cheese in the middle. It was delicious.
Like I told you just before the episode started, it's lunchtime and you're really teasing me.
Also on today's show, we catch up with Darton Archery. We've got Ted Harpham with us from Darton. He's going to be talking about some of the different crossbows out there. We caught up with him at the Woods and Water Outdoor Weekend earlier in September. And then we're going to have a Ryan Johnson bow hunt. We appreciate Ryan for sending us the footage.
Yeah, you know, and speaking of Darton Archery, you know, we tested out their crossbows this year. Right on, brother. 20 to 30 yards, every one of them dead center in the bullseye.
Except for we haven't had a big deer come in yet. We've done everything else with it.
We were working on that.
Exactly right. So we've got all that along with a lot of big bucks we're going to feature on the show here today. So stay with us. You're watching the Q1 Buck Poll.
Q1 Buck Poll, Michigan's biggest and best buck poll contest. Brought to you by these sponsors who support Michigan's great outdoors.
Well, we've talked all year about donating your deer to the hungry, and coming up we're going to talk to Ray Rustum about Sportsmen Against Hunger and the programming that they have out there. But before we do that, we have some big bucks here on the Q1 Buck Poll.
Got a couple of nice bucks brought in, Tim. Let's start out with William Mangum from Armada. He brought in a 17-pointer with the score of 58 3/4. Then we had Douglas Culhart from Swartz Creek, bringing in a 13-pointer, the score 54.62. And finally, Ralph Madden with a 12-pointer from Ithaca, scoring 52.
One of the great programs out there is Sportsmen Against Hunger. It is where you can actually take your deer to a processor, and the Sportsmen Against Hunger will offset the processing cost and then donate it to a local food bank.
And I think it's a great opportunity. It's a great cause. It's about service to others, and what a great way to give back.
We're now going to talk about a way that you, as the hunters that are watching our show, can get involved in helping feed the hungry out there. We've got Ray Rustum with us. He is the assistant to the Chief Marketing Outreach Program. Ray, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Let's talk about the program that you're involved in, Michigan Sportsmen Against Hunger.
Yeah, well, Michigan Sportsmen Against Hunger is a group of organizations, Michigan Bow Hunters, the Quality Deer Management Association of Michigan, United Methodist Men's Association, a number of organizations that got together to try and raise food again for food programs. One of the unique things about this one is that we're working with sportsmen to donate venison. Now,
there are processors around the state that we can take our deer to that are connected or involved with particular food pantries.
Right. Any person, any hunter who wants to donate they can either donate the whole carcass, a whole deer carcass, or they can donate, some of the processors will take a certain portion of that deer if they want to donate pounds of venison to this program. And there's a list, there's a number of processors throughout the state that have been part of this program. And you can get that list by going to the website for the Michigan Sportsmen Against Hunger, and that list is posted out there.
Now, one of the things for you to know is that in a lot of instances, it doesn't cost the person donating the deer any money, because that's where the Sportsmen Against Hunger come in. That's where other organizations around the state, I know, like in the Branch County area, we've got the Coldwater Noon Rotary Club. They also put money towards this program, too.
Right. There's a couple different ways that, as you said, there are a couple different ways that this is funded. A hunter, if he wants to, he can pay for the processing himself. As a donation, including, or we've got these systems set up where we will reimburse the processor for his processing costs.
Mm-hmm. You know, there's a lot of people out there that are, you know, what you would consider kind of the working poor. They just don't make enough, and so sometimes they've got to decide on how much food or what they're doing with events or activities or medicine or whatever the case is. And this is really a great way for hunters to give back too.
Yeah, and it's really neat because it really connects us back to our past. Because remember, when you take a look at the past for hunters, the hunters were, when America was first being settled, you had hunters that were going out and hunting for food for the community. And this is really a connection to our past, where we can now go out and continue to hunt for the communities, providing great nutritional meat for family meals.
Now, can somebody get involved if you know, somebody out there says, "Hey, I'd like to donate to the Sportsmen Against Hunger," or "I'd like to donate in some form or fashion to help people"? Right.
The best ways are to do, again, either by donating when you purchase your license. If you already purchased your license, or even if you're not a hunter, you can go out on the Michigan website, and there's a place called eStore. And if you go into the charities section of that, there's a Feeding the Hungry button that you can make a direct donation, or you can make a direct donation to Michigan Sportsmen Against Hunger. They're also looking always for volunteers to help us find new processors to make it easier for people to donate the venison. And you know, the processor out there, you know, in our case, it's all venison burger, and that's how we package it. And then, of course, the people come in, and especially Thanksgiving time and Christmas time, we put it into the holiday baskets type of thing. Now, does a processor have to be USDA certified? Yeah, because we're working with the food banks and those kinds of programs in the state of Michigan, the processor has to be licensed by the state. It has to be a licensed facility. And so that's one of the things we're working with, to try and get some more of the processors licensed so that we can have more places, again, to have donations made. So what's different about this food program than other programs? What is interesting about this one is we're actually working with the hunter's interests. And we're collecting, this is a collection of venison, fresh venison for distribution. We're not collecting canned goods, we're not collecting waste product or the products that people don't want to use. We're collecting fresh venison, and it makes a real good connection back to our history of supporting communities as hunter-gatherers. Well, and as you talk about that, I mean, many years ago, how our country was founded is Ray went out and had his group, and you hunted for the whole community. You're exactly right. And there's a great connection right back to that history that we had as hunters in the state. Well, simply a great program, isn't it? Well, it's an excellent program. Ray, thanks for being with us and explaining it. Okay, Ray Restum, he is the assistant to the Chief Marketing Outreach Program, also, again, working with Michigan Sportsmen Against Hunger. And you can get involved and help people all throughout the state. Go out, you know, a lot of people have doe out there you want to get rid of, or I want to say you want to shoot, so you kind of balance the herd. This is a great way, if your freezer is full, to donate back to people that are less fortunate. I'm Tim Hart. You're watching the Q1 Buck Poll. Stay with us. We got more coming up. Time now for our sponsor spotlight here on the Q1 Buck Poll. I've got Ken Brown from the Mason Elevator Company with us. Ken, welcome to the show. Thank you very much. You know, when people think of the Mason Elevator, I'm sure that a lot of them are saying, well, it's corn and soybeans and farmers, but it is so much more, isn't it? It is so much more. We carry a full line of outdoor things, whether it be seeds from Evolved Harvest, Whitetail Institute, Brassica's turnips. We got everything for the hunter. Now, if somebody doesn't quite know what they want to do with their food plot, what can you do for me? I tell you what, you come in the door and our staff is going to take you and explain to you step 1, 2, 3. I mean, step 1, you got to get a soil test done. You got to know what that soil calls for as far as nutrients goes. Step 2, you got to decide what kind of seed you want to go with. You want to go with one you got to plant every year, or do you want one that's going to be there year after year for 4 or 5 years to come? Many decisions to be made. It's not as just simple as throwing it out there. Well, now we talk about throwing it out there. Can I do that with some of the corn you guys got? You can do that, yeah. It's time to bait now, and we got it all here. Yeah. Michigan is finally allowing us to bait again, and yeah, we got a full selection of wildlife feed, corn, you name it. I'm pretty sure we can take care of your needs. All right. Talk to me about some of the other things in the store, muck boots, some of the trail cams. Yeah, I tell you what, being an avid hunter, I started off wearing muck boots out hunting. I loved it. Well, guess what, guys? I got to have it in my retail store. And that goes for the Hawk Optics scopes. You won't see me with a rifle without a scope on it, and plus my binoculars, I have them all the time. The trail cams, Wild Game Innovations, I started using them, we're carrying them. So basically, if I'm using it out here, it's in my store. So I can tell you guys, all the hunters,
how they work.
And the final thing I think we want to touch on, you got that bird dog out there. You got some awesome display of all kinds of food.
Yeah, I again, you know, I got a couple of bird dogs, and we have dog food that you, whether it be your lap puppy or your outdoor dog, we have everything you need.
All right, Ken, thanks for being with us, buddy.
I appreciate it.
All right, Ken Brown with the Mason Elevator Company. I'm Tim Hart, and that's our sponsor spotlight. Well, it's time to do a little cooking here on the Q1 Buck Pole with our chef Steve Deal. Venison, black and blue burger. But before we do that, it's time for some more big bucks.
Okay, Tim, here we go. Nicholas Hammond with a 10-pointer from Plainwell. His score was 51 3/4. Scott Reiner with an 11-pointer from Freeland. His score was 51.62. And then finally we have Brian Pruski with a 14-pointer from Oshkosh. The score, 51.
Well, there's a lot of ways to make venison out there. Here's a unique way to take your venison burger and really kind of make it a gourmet burger.
Today we're going to make a venison black and blue burger. We've started right here. I have a 4-ounce, 2 4-ounce patties of venison. I personally like them a little oblong because I like to serve them on a sub bun. You can do any discretion way you want. Making a little well right in the center of one of your patties. Add some blue cheese. Now, if you're not a big blue cheese fan, you can always use your personal favorite. Cheddar, pepper jack, goat cheese is outstanding in it. If you want to do a little Mediterranean style, feta cheese works very well. Now, with the other 4-ounce patty, I place it right on top of it, and I like to pinch down the sides. And what I teach my students at the Calhoun Area Career Center when we do our stuffed burgers, we call it the pinch and pat. So pinch it a little bit and pat it right around. One thing about venison burgers that I personally feel they need is that extra little cheese kick to it, because what's going to do, as we all know, venison is so lean and low in fat, this actually helps give it a little extra punch and flavor. Now, my personal favorite, to give it that extra little punch and flavor, we have a little seasoning right here. This happens to be a little blackened spice. This blackened spice recipe will be supplied to you. I'm dredging it liberally, generously I should say, making sure that it's well evenly coated. That's really going to bring out some extra flavor and stand out. I preheat a skillet on high heat. I take my seasoned venison burger, no oil or anything, and put it directly right in the pan. Give it a little pat into that. And what that's going to do is we're going to crust the seasoning on the outside of it. Now, as it starts to cook, I'm going to add a little bit of butter on it and around it. About 2 to 3 minutes per side. After searing it, I flip it on that one side. See how I got the nice blackening marks onto it? The venison's still really rare at this moment, so you definitely want to continue to cook it. I like to let it go for another 3 to 5 minutes. 3 minutes on this side, I'm sorry. And go another 5 minutes in total. I'm going to start turning down my heat just a little bit. And this is where I do add a little more butter to it. Just right around the edges. So we start searing it. Again, give it a little shake. Make sure she's not sticking to it. Boy, that sure smells delicious. And again, as I was saying, if you're not in a well-ventilated area, this smoke coming off there is actually pretty toxic in some sense. It's not going to kill you or anything, but it's definitely going to burn your lungs a little bit and make you cough. If you can look at the difference in it right now, this one is actually still searing and it's going to plump up and cook together like this. Now this is one that we have just started previously before this. I have a nice toasted bun. Put on this plate. I like to put the lettuce down. My rule is always tomato next. Some people ask me why. Our bun doesn't get soggy from the tomato. And I put a little red onion for color and a little texture. on top. And there we have our blackened blue venison burger. Put the top back on there. Have to use little frill picks, kind of hold into it. And one thing I always see people do is smash down on the sandwich. Don't ever smash down. We want to keep all those beautiful juices inside that burger. And there's our black and blue venison burger. Nice, beautiful melted cheese right in the center of it. Give it a nice flavor. Blackened spice for a little personality. Crisp texture from lettuce, tomato, and onion. Toasted bun. What more could you ask for, but maybe a little French fries and your personal choice of frosty beverage.
There's still time for you to get out in the woods with your crossbow. Coming up, I'm going to talk to Ted Harpham about dart and crossbows. But before that, again, Big Buck has all the big bucks. You've got until December 31st to take your buck or doe into one of our registration locations.
Yeah, we've had some great ones brought in so far this year, Tim, but let's start out with Devin Slovak with a 10-pointer. He comes from Ashley with a score of 50 3/4. Carl Welsh with an 11-pointer from Brown City. His score was 49.5. Talon Pearson from Quincy, Michigan. His score was 48. Then we had Troy Westner with an 8-pointer, a score of 47.5 coming from St. John's.
We'll be caught up with Ted Harpham from Dart and Archery here at the Woods and Water Outdoor Weekend. Ted, welcome to the show, one of our great sponsors.
Hey, I appreciate you guys. I love the Q1 Buck Bowl.
All right.
Great
hey,
time.
we're talking about crossbows because more and more people are taking to the woods. I've got the Serpent here. Tell me about this one I'm looking at.
This is our parallel limb Serpent crossbow. It's got the Teflon impregnated barrel. Very parallel limb, very quiet, very fast, very smooth, about 330 feet per second crossbow. And it's new for 2012. Some of the safety features are areas that you cannot get your fingers up into the strings and cables. It automatically goes to safety when you cock the crossbow. Very, very quick, very nice. Great for hunting in blinds and tree stands.
All right, now what have you got?
Well,
you got something you got the top, you got the Cadillac.
Always the bigger the better, okay?
That's right.
And the bigger the better is this is our new Fire Force for 2012. This bow is shooting over 400 feet per second. Still got all the protective pieces that the other bows have in our line, but we do have the new dual sync cam system on this bow. So this is the cam system that everybody's talking about.
And what is that going to do?
It's
quiet?
Fast.
Okay.
It's fast. It's just, that's all I can tell you. It's fast.
All right, and you know what you could do is get registered in the Q1 Buck Pool so that you have a chance to win because we're giving these away all year long, starting in January and February, and then of course at the final party we'll have a number of them to get away at the Soaring Eagle. Ted, thanks for taking the time out. He's had a whole line of people asking about crossbows, and that's what we're doing here today. We're going to go shoot some ourselves. You're watching the Q1 Buck Bowl. There's still time to get out in the woods and also get your deer registered like I just talked about. December 31st is our cutoff date, and Mike, the secondary archery season is here.
I'll tell you what, it separates the men from the boys. You know, I talk about this every year, but you know, the pressure's on. I haven't shot a big buck, and I typically kind of scale back my hunting during the second season because it's tough. I mean, it's a lot colder. The deer are a little bit riled up, but they're going to start coming back to the food plots. There's still that time to catch that one sleeping in the late season.
But first of all, we've got Ryan Johnson. He sent us in a bow hunt. And again, we invite you to send us in your video from this year's hunting, and we'll feature you right here on the TV show. Here's the hunt from Ryan Johnson.
Well, here it is, November the 4th. Yesterday I rattled in 3 bucks. Nothing to size. The rut's just starting to kick in. It's a perfect spot. I got corn still up out here. I got a swamp behind me. So I can't get no surprises from behind. The suspense is killing me too much here. I'm gonna get down and go take a look at this deer. See what these G5s do for a blood trail here. They say you get a red carpet treatment. I guess we'll find out. Turn kick it up. Oh, there he is right there. There's a deer. There he is.
nice little 8-point here. Shot him on videotape this morning. He come into a nice little rattling and grunting sequence I did. Come in, gave me a perfect shot, drilled him at about 15 yards. And he only ran probably 80 yards and he piled right up. And he ain't nothing special, but you know what, when you're on videotape and you're doing it yourself, it's hard to pass up deer like these. I mean, it's hard enough to do it with 2 people and, you know, person concentrating on just hunting. When you got the camera and hunting at the same time, it's a totally different story. So I'm happy with them.
Well, that's going to do it for this week's edition of the Q1 Buck Pull. Tim Hart and Mike Big Buck Hoffner. You know, there's still a chance for you to have a chance to win that Saskatchewan deer hunt. Go to q1buckpull.com and click on the lastminutehuntingandfishing.com icon and then get yourself registered.
Yeah, great prizes, Tim. We're eking down to the end of the season, but there's still big deer that are out there.
We've got our party dates are getting all set right now, and you can go online and check those out. Plus, watch for the newsletter. If you haven't signed up online to be a part of the Q1 Buck Pull community, make sure you do that, and then you'll get our newsletter with all the news and updates and big bucks and all that kind of good stuff. For Mike Big Buck Hoffner, anything else you got to say?
I have nothing to say other than get that last deer that's roaming out in your territory.
There you go, from the Big Buck himself. For Mike Big Buck Hoffner, I'm Tim Hart. Whenever you're out in the woods, make sure you stay safe. Thanks for watching this week's edition of the Q1 Buck Pull.
For the latest on Michigan hunting, pick up the current edition of Woods and Water News, Michigan's premier outdoor publication. Available on newsstands or by subscription. Woods and Water News, proud sponsor of the Q1 Buck Pull.
But I can tell you, the first year we shot this show, I'll bet you we went probably 8, 10 in a row, just one take for everything. And then the longer we started doing this, the more we screwed up.
Obviously, you were drinking back then because you know. I messed it up, Big. It was kind of dry though, Daryl. It didn't have a lot of enthusiasm. It did not have a lot of enthusiasm.
What are you doing there, Timmy?
You sitting with you, Big Buck? Look at him like he normally looks at me, stupid. Well, you do look at me sometimes just stupid.
Well,
look
yeah,
at you.
Well,
I mean, look at you right now. Look at me. Stupid. I'm resting my case.
Your game's not in there today.